Welcome back to the Gyrl Podcast. I'm Kyra. Thank you all for joining. All right, I am so excited to welcome Judith to the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. So happy to spend this time with you. Finally.
Yes, yes, me too. Well, I'm excited to talk about the topic today. This episode obviously is taking place and releasing to our audiences in February, which some would say is the month of love. And one thing that I know is that you cannot receive love unless you can love yourself first. And that is a big focus for you and the work that you do every day. So why don't we start there with you telling the audience who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Well, my name is Judith, as you said, but what transformed my life was the idea of love. Since I was a child, I was interested in, the difference between man and woman in terms of love. And I can say that I was a student of love. And I was so fascinated by this idea of soulmates until one day I read a book that changed my life unexpectedly. It's the book of Brian Weiss called Only Love is Real. But by the way, it's a bestseller of all the books of Brian Weiss in Spain, on Lazos de Amor, because I had the opportunity to speak with the author, and it was a fun conversation. At that moment, I was married, and I love my husband so much, and I decided to go into a quest to kind of find out if my husband was my soulmate, because our encounter was so special and spectacular. We had a lot of, we were in sync, I can say. And what I discovered was a lot about relationships, why we encounter the kind of people, what happened with soulmates. Is this concept real? Soul contracts. Why we meet again and again the same kind of partners, sometimes different people, but same issues. And I moved to New York City after I got divorced to find my soulmate, and I did. And I became a coach. My career in Spain was totally different. And I started helping people by private sessions and a workshop that I created on how to find your soulmate. That was the beginning, and I did it very well. And I attended some weddings, and a lot of people really understood that the real reason why they were stuck were the beliefs that they had, or maybe that they couldn't forgive. Or a big, big reason is that they didn't love themselves. And I had to learn this. I was the first one that abandoned myself in relationships. And I had to learn that in order to be happy in a relationship, you have to fulfill your own needs. It's not just about, I give you everything I have and more. And I sacrifice myself for the relationship. And then you give me everything. No, a relationship is something different. It's when two individuals, two mature individuals decide to share the love that they already have themselves.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for telling us about your journey and how you came to help others. I want to start by asking you this question. How do you define loving yourself?
It's just becoming your best friend. It's very simple, but we make it very complicated because the kind of love that we learn everywhere, in our families, at the school, with people we love, is conditional love. You have an argument with a friend and the friend stops loving you, and that's the end. You get divorced and that's the end. You kind of, your parents didn't love you, and then you are angry for the rest of your life with your parents. That's not what love is. Love is a decision that you make when you get up every day in the morning. And you can love someone in spite of who the other person is. We are not trained in love. I hope that this, in the schools, they train kids in the most important, I will say, abilities that they need for life. How to handle emotions. What is love? instead of learning about the battles and the history. That it is important, to learn from our history. But I think that it's more important to learn a little bit more about how to be happier in life. And self-love and happiness are very connected. Then if you want to love yourself, you have to start realizing how you can improve the relationship with yourself. And self-love is super big. It's not just, I'm a best friend. I'm going to treat myself as I treat my friends, because everyone has different needs and different weaknesses and strengths regarding self-love. Some of my clients have problems with self-worth. Others have problems with self-forgiveness. Others have problems with, let's say, self-expression, saying what you want and expressing your needs and desires. Other people have abandoned themselves and they have forgotten who they are. Then it's quite like a big idea. It's like a tree that has different branches,
Yeah.
But it's the whole tree that it's important, and everything that you do reverts in the health of the tree. And self-love is the same. You don't have to do or to be perfect in every aspect of self-love. You just have to really start with what seems easier for you and keep building more and more self-love.
I think that is all. I love the way you broke that down, because those things are all true. Different people have different, I guess, barriers to self-love. And I think I'd like to understand more. Obviously you went through some different branches, as we'll call it, of barriers. How can people start to show themselves more love? And I would like to say, like, maybe, you have to, I think I always say this, like, it starts with like showing yourself grace, especially when you're someone who feels like, ashamed or guilty, or, like, you got to give yourself that grace first, because I think we just immediately will say, if something happens, oh, I'm a bad person, I'm not, capable of love, or no one should love me because I've done these things, or, how do people begin to like clear that out of the way, those feelings?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the question, because what you just say is key. And I think that the best advice that I can give people is start with your inner critic. All of us have one. We have this voice that it's very hard on ourselves. It depends on what aspects this voice talks, but it's going to say things like, you cannot make it. Who do you think you are? You are stupid. You should have realized this. Nobody likes you. Then this is just a voice that is trained, is inside of you, but is trained to protect you. It seems the opposite, because it makes your life miserable. And you can't take your mind to the gym the same way you take your body to the gym. You can train your mind and say, okay, I heard you saying that I'm not going to make it, but let me think about the moments where I really made it. Go to the moments where people show appreciation. Give yourself this grace that you were mentioning. And then there is something called neuroplasticity that everyone talks about it right now, that it's a capability that we have to learn and to change our brain patterns. Because in the past, neuroscientists thought that you are born this way and you're going to die this way. And that's not true. Then your life is made by those things that you entertain every day. Then the more love you show, like the more less critical, less judgmental you are, the more grace you show to yourself, the more you become your cheerleader, your fan number one, the more you appreciate, then your life gets transformed into this energy. This becomes your new reality. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's just about subtle changes that in the long term become major differences in your life. It's not about throwing your life away and say, oh, now I'm going to love myself from scratch. No.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It's just little things here and there.
Yeah.
Especially the awareness. Awareness is key, because when when you really want to heal something, you have to be aware that you have problem. And if you have a wound and you never tend to the wound, then it may get infected. Maybe someone like have to amputate your leg because you never knew that this was going on. Then with self-love is the same. When you become aware of the way you treat yourself, of the thoughts that you entertain, then you can do something about it. Instead of change them.
Yeah. No, I agree with you because I do think there, like you said, there are two things like you mentioned. It is, that inner critic who's going to speak to you. It's always going to speak to you. And it's always going to tell you something. I give a personal example of when I was going to start this podcast. And when I realized when it came to me as a, thing of like, start a podcast. And immediately that voice said to me, I mean, nobody wants to hear you. What do you want? What do you have to say? Why would anybody listen to what you're going to say? And the first few times that Start a Podcast came and then the voice said it, I would listen. I would be like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, why put myself out there like that? And then, but it kept the urge to do it kept coming. And it was overwhelmingly like, no, you need to do this. And then I finally I realized, I'm like, you know what? Shut up. Shut up. I can do this. I have a lot to share with the world. And I think, like you said, it's about like a mindset shift. It's about small changes, right? And it's in positive self-talk because we're so quick to say the terrible things about ourselves or the things where we feel like we are short. And we give those things so much more power over the great things and the awesome things about us. And instead of like focusing on those things, we do always focus on the really bad things. And then it's like we go down this downward spiral. It might start with just like a podcast. Me saying, oh, I can't do this podcast. And it could just spiral all the way down to nobody's ever going to love me because I'm not worthy. And I know like that seems extreme, but I think like so many people go through that. Like it's the constant like negative self-talk and then you just spiral to a point to where you don't feel like you're worthy of anything good to happen to you.
Yeah, and the opposite is also true because the higher the level of love for yourself, the better relationships you establish, the happier you are, the better health you have, and the more abundant your life is. Because love is we are all energy, no? We know. Like this is just like a mouse, but it's energy vibrating that it looks like a mouse. Then love is the highest vibration, is the highest energy in the universe. The more love that you have inside of yourself, the more you can offer to others. But if you don't fill the tank, then you run empty. It's like asking a car, like, please move when you don't put gasoline.
Right. There's nothing. There are fumes in here, but I want you to move.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to happen. Then because we have this belief system that love is about giving everything to the others, we forget that, yes, but it has to start with yourself. Because when you run out of gas, of love gas, and you continue giving, you know what you are giving? Love.
Yeah.
You are giving sacrifice. You are giving resentment. You are deteriorating your health, especially your mental health. People become more irritable and less capable of holding a space for others. Then self-love is not selfish. It's your first responsibility. It's something that you need to do in order not to improve your life, to improve the world where you live in.
Yeah. So I like this reference to filling the tank because I think, like you said, when people are in relationships, so I'd like to take that and look at, say, a relationship, whatever that might look like for you, if it's a family relationship, a lot of times, like you said, people will not fill their tank. They're just giving, and almost to like a martyr. I'm just like everybody. I have to help everyone. Everyone needs my help. I'm just giving and giving. And then, like you said, and then in the back of it all, like that person is starting to be resentful. They're starting to feel like, well, I'm always giving to everybody else and no one gives to me. Who fills me back up? And like, why is it so important for us to like fill those tanks? Obviously, I know with those feelings of resentment, feeling irritable, but how do we make sure that we get what we need in order to establish like happy and good, healthy relationships?
I'm going to answer with a personal example, if you allow me.
Okay.
I have been married twice. Half of my life I have been married.
Mm-hmm.
And in both cases, I abandoned myself in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
People say that you have to teach what you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Then I teach self-love because I really needed to learn self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Then in both cases, I abandoned myself to the point where I not only put my physical health in risk with problems related with thyroid, that also I end up having emotional and mental problems. And you know why? Because when you go against yourself, you can do it for a short period of time. But there is a moment where it's not going to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you are going to pay the consequences. Then I stayed in the relationship because I wanted it to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I tried everything because I thought that love was enough. But what I forgot is that without loving myself first, what I was putting was pressure on the other person to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was giving everything I had, but I was asking everything the other person could give me.
Mm-hmm.
That I was putting my happiness in his pocket.
Yeah.
And this is unfair.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know how to really fill your tank, you are going to be looking at the relationship in a way that is going to make it difficult. But what I learned is that we establish these relationships for a reason that it's bigger than we imagine.
Mm-hmm.
We establish contracts with other souls even before coming here. That's a definition of a soulmate. A soulmate is someone with whom you have a bond of unconditional love. And it might be your partner now, for sure in the future, but it might have been your partner in past lives. And you don't have to believe in past lives. If you're watching this and the concept doesn't resonate with you, it's okay. But let me tell you that you have special beings that you are going to meet in this incarnation. Then when a relationship seems a disaster from a human perspective, like, oh, this person doesn't love me and is not paying attention to me, and I have to sacrifice for the relationship, and I want to be loved, but he or she doesn't pay enough attention to me. Maybe what the relationship is teaching you is self-love. You don't have any other option because you are not receiving the love that you want, that to learn to find it within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then please look at relationship from a bigger perspective, not just from the human mentality, like you and me happy forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because relationships are more like the ways we learn how to love and how to be loved. I am grateful for any partner, and I haven't had many in my life, less than the fingers in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
But all of them taught me something about love.
Mm-hmm. I like it. It's good stuff, Judith. So, Judith, given everything that we know, everything that we've heard, why is love? Why does it continue to be a challenge for some?
Because the reason why we are on earth is to learn how to love and how to be loved, and we do it through relationships. Then if there is no challenge, sometimes there is no growth. There is no shift. There is no learning.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that met their soulmates, they say that there is no love like the love between soulmates, that after they found this person, maybe they didn't establish a relationship, or both were married and it was not possible in this lifetime. But there is no love that equals this is more than a sensation, not this experience. And why I'm sharing this with you, because if you want just to be with someone, to be happy forever, like in a soulmate connection, you are not going to make any effort to accomplish those things that your soul knows that you need to improve. We all can be better lovers, not lovers in a relationship only with a romantic partner. I mean, we can love others better. This idea that love is unconditional, for some people, they look at me because my title is Unconditional Love Coach and say, yeah, sure. Like unconditional, like without conditions, no matter what. Yeah, this love exists. And that's the reason why you can love anyone in spite of who the other person is. That's the reason why we are all one. That's the reason why you can love everything that exists. But we have many, many beliefs stored that say, oh, you wrong me, or you owe me, or you didn't like me, or I deserve better, or you didn't treat me well. Right. And we have a very, very long list of grudges with people.
Yeah.
And one of the important things that you can do in order to love better is to start forgiving yourself and others for anything that happened in the past, because your life is happening here, right now, in this moment, not in the past events that you experienced. That past. If it's past, it should remain in the past, not affect your present, and for sure not affect your future.
Yeah. I like that. And that, and it seems like an easy thing to do. But it's going to be very hard, and it's going to continue to be very hard for people, which is why we have people like you who can help them. So I want to ask you one last question. For anybody watching, listening now, and they're thinking, yes, I hear you, Judith. I'm on board with these things, but I don't know where to start. What is the first thing, if you could give a piece of advice to someone of how they could at least begin to start to turn towards loving themselves more?
Yeah. The first thing I already mentioned, become aware the way you treat yourself, and write, maybe in your cell phone, all the thoughts that you have about yourself, and you will see what is the reality of the relationship that you have with yourself. And then start treating yourself like you will treat your best friend. And build a sense of appreciation. We only look at our flaws, our weaknesses, our mistakes, but we don't celebrate our wins. Then be grateful for everything that you do. Realize how important you are. Do you know that you are unique? There is no Kira in the universe like you. There's no one, never have been created and being like you.
Exactly.
Then without you, the world, the universe, the entire universe will be different if you didn't exist. And we take ourselves for granted. And we look at the small things and make them big, like, oh, I made a mistake. And so what? You have the rest of your life to do it differently.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then just love yourself a little bit more. Just treat yourself the way you will treat like a little animal that you find in the middle of your baby. Are you going to tell your baby, oh, you're stupid. Oh, you cannot walk. Oh, you are never going to be grown.
Yeah.
Don't worry. you are wonderful and magnificent and try again.
Yes.
Then you just have to start treating yourself this way.
Mm-hmm.
And let me rephrase something that you said, because I'm a coach and it's normal for me to do these things. Everyone, please stop saying that it's so hard. Because if you say it's so hard to change, you know what? It's going to be so hard to change. Then I'm here to tell you that to change is easy. But it's difficult is to remain the same when you know it's not working.
Awesome. All right, Judith, why don't you tell everybody listening and watching how they can connect to you and how they can work with you as well?
The easy way would be to go to my website. There is a contact page. Send me an email. My telephone number, it's there also. My email. Schedule a complimentary session. Tell me how I can help you. Let's connect. Of course, there are links to social media. If you register, you will receive my gift letter, my blog, and news about the workshops. But all the information about private sessions, retreats, and workshops and classes is on the website.
And what's your website?
JudithMCosta.com.
And we'll also drop that in the show notes as well. Awesome. All right. So, Judith, now we're going to move into 3 things with Judith. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Just help the audience get to know you a little bit better. First one is a 2-parter. So it is, how do you start and end your day?
Well, I'm glad I had flexibility. And the first thing I do is I write a dream that I had, usually the last one of the night. Second, I do a meditation without getting up from bed. And then my routine is I take care of my cat. He has breakfast before me and I brush him and I clean the litter and all of this. Then I have my breakfast and then I go for a walk. And then I start working.
Okay. And then how do you end your day?
Sometimes I'm a teacher and a consultant of the Akashic Records. Then I wait until the end of the day to do my inner work. And then I open my own Akashic Records. For those that don't know what these Akashic Records are, it's like the book of your soul. It's a field of information where everything is recorded. And I can tap. I train people, but I also do it for my own development. And then if I'm not too tired, this will be the last activity of my day. I like to eat, if I can, early, even though I'm Spanish. And, we have the tendency to have late dinner. But yeah, that will be it.
Okay, awesome. If you are a goal or an intention setter, what is one that you have set for yourself this year?
I have to tell you that I don't use January to set up goals. Not even if I have to choose a time in the year, it will be September because it's like the beginning of the school year, this kind of thing. But as an astrologer, I'm also an astrologer, your year starts in the moment of your birthday. Then if I have to set up goals, I will do it in April 26th, if my birthday is my birthday, I'm a Taurus. Then it's when your energy is reset and you kind of have like full battery again. And I take a look of what is going to happen what are the tendencies for the year and how the energy of the planets is favorable. There's a reading for that. But I tend to live my life on a flow. Like I set up goals or not all the time. But it's not that, I'm going to decide this and forever and ever. For example, there was a big change in my life when I was diagnosed with cancer. And I made changes at that moment in life that they have been permanent. Like this happened 5 years ago. And the reason, for example, why I go for a walk in the morning is because I work from home and sometimes I skip it. I'm very busy. I'll go tomorrow. And tomorrow was yeah, tomorrow morning. And then it was tomorrow night. And now I do the important things first in the morning.
Mhm.
And yeah, some things you have to just be honest with yourself and uh, and decide that you can do it. But you can only fix goals if the reason why is because you love yourself enough to make these changes.
Mhm. Awesome. All right. And last, what is a book, a podcast, a show, or anything that you are loving at this moment?
This one.
You can share more than one, whatever you like.
Yeah, I listened to a couple of podcasts. Well, three, I will say. I love Tara Brach. She's a teacher of mindfulness. And if you subscribe, she sends you an email with the weekly talk.
Mhm.
The Next Soul Level with Alex Ferrari about spirituality. And the podcast Insights of the Age from Sounds True. This will be my three favorite.
Mhm. All right. Thank you for sharing. And last, before I let you go, what are three things you'd like the audience to take away from our conversation today?
Treat yourself better. Start right now and stop sabotaging yourself and your life. No excuses. Love above everything and anything. And if you want to change your life, do it with kindness, with compassion, and with understanding.
Awesome. Love those. Well, thank you, Judith, so much. This has been a delightful conversation. I think that people will definitely gain so much. I mean, they are, like you said, they're somewhat things that we may know that we do not implement or not, we don't stick to. But it never hurts to be reminded of how we should treat ourselves first.
Oh,
So,
sure. Again, I do this for a living and I have to remind myself. Yeah.
so I want to thank you for sharing all the nuggets today with us. And you can always come back to the Gyrl Podcast in the future and share with us.
Oh, yes. I'm ready whenever you want. We do part two.
Awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity to share all these ideas. Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.